Hi, hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Today let's talk about nihilism. Nihilism, early 19th century. First, let's distinguish between nihilism, absurdism, and existentialism. Nihilism says that life is meaningless and nothing can change that. Absurdism says that life is meaningless, but humans cannot stop searching for meaning. Existentialism says that life has no given meaning, so we must create our own meanings. Nihilism is a multifaceted philosophical and literary concept that centers on the rejection of inherent meaning, value, or purpose in life. It has significantly influenced the various domains, including literature, where it manifests through themes of existential despair, moral ambiguity, and the questioning of societal norms. Origins and philosophical foundations of nihilism. Etymology and early usage. The term nihilism derives from the Latin word nihil, meaning nothing. It was popularized in the 19th century, notably by Russian author Ivan Turgenev in his book Fathers and Sons 1862, where the character Bazarov embodies a nihilist who rejects traditional values and institutions. Philosophical underpinnings of nihilism. Nihilism gained prominence through the works of German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, who declared that God is there to signify the decline of religious and moral absolutes in the modern era. Nietzsche viewed this as both a crisis and an opportunity for re-evaluating values. Types and developments of nihilism. Metaphysical nihilism denies the existence of any fundamental reality. Moral nihilism asserts that objective moral values do not exist. Epistemological nihilism questions the possibility of knowledge and truth. Existential nihilism suggests that life lacks inherent meaning or purpose. Political nihilism advocates for the destruction of political and social institutions without proposing alternatives. Nihilism and social and cultural contexts. Nihilism often emerges during periods of social upheaval, war, or cultural disintegration. In the 19th century Russia, it was associated with radical movements challenging autocracy and orthodoxy. In the 20th century, the devastation of world wars and the Holocaust intensified nihilistic sentiments, leading to a sense of disillusionment and a questioning of human progress. Nihilism in literature, its characteristics and themes. Key characteristics include rejection of traditional values. Characters often challenge or disregard societal norms and moral codes. Existential despair. Themes of meaninglessness, isolation, and despair are prevalent. Moral ambiguity. Protagonists may engage in morally questionable actions without a clear justification. Fragmented narrative structures. Reflecting the disintegration of coherent meaning. Dark humor and irony, used to underscore the absurdity of existence. Now let's analyze the notable nihilistic works and authors. First of all, Fyodor Dostoevsky. His book Demons 1872 explores the destructive consequences of nihilistic ideologies on Russian society through a group of radicals. The next writer, Ivan Turgenev, his Fathers and Sons 1862, introduces Bazarov, a nihilist who rejects traditional values, highlighting the generational conflict between old and new ideologies. The next person, Franz Kafka, The Metamorphoses, 1915, depicts a man's transformation into an insect, symbolizing alienation and the absurdity of human existence. Albert Camus, The Stranger, 1942, centers on the character Mercer, who exhibits emotional detachment and indifference, embodying existential nihilism. The next writer, Jean-Paul Sartre, his work Nausea, 1938, follows a protagonist who experiences a profound sense of meaninglessness, reflecting existential angst. The next writer, Louis Ferdinand Céline, his work Journey to the End of the Night, 1932, offers a bleak, cynical view of human nature and society, emphasizing despair and disillusionment. The next writer, Chuck Palahniuk, his work Fight Club, 1996, critiques consumer culture and explores the search for identity through anarchic and nihilistic themes. The next writer, Thomas Ligotti, his work The Conspiracy Against the Human Race, 2010, is a philosophical treatise presenting a pessimistic view of consciousness and existence. The next writer, John Barth, his work The Floating Opera, 1956, narrates a day in the life of a man contemplating suicide, questioning the existence of absolute values. The next writer, Leo Tolstoy, The Death of Ivan Ilyich, 1886, examines the existential crisis of a man confronting his mortality and the superficiality of his life. Now we can analyze nihilism's influence on language and literary form. Nihilistic literature often employs fragmented narratives, unreliable narrators, and non-linear timelines to reflect the disintegration of meaning. Language may be used ironically or paradoxically to underscore the futility of communication and the elusiveness of truth. Now let's analyze the contemporary relevance. In today's context, nihilism resonates amid a global crisis, technological advancements, and cultural shifts that challenge traditional beliefs and values. Literature continues to explore nihilistic themes, prompting readers to confront questions about a purpose, morality, and the human condition. Now let's compare nihilism, absurdism, and existentialism. First of all, nihilism is the belief that life is inherently meaningless and that values, morals, or truths are illusory. In absurdism, the belief that humans seek meaning in a universe that offers none, leading to the absurd condition. Existentialism, the philosophical stance that individuals create their own meaning and a purpose in life through choices and actions. The core idea of nihilism, nothing has inherent meaning, rejection of all systems of belief. The core idea of absurdism is that the clash between the human desire for meaning and the universe's indifference. The core idea of existentialism is individuals are free and are responsible for creating their own essence and meaning. Now, nihilism's response to meaninglessness, that is, despair, apathy, or total rejection of value systems. In absurdism, the response to meaninglessness is acceptance of absurdity, often met with a defiance, irony, or revolt. In existentialism, the response to meaninglessness is responsibility creates one's own purpose despite the absence of objective meaning. Now, nihilism's attitude toward morality. Morality is baseless and subjective, often leads to moral relativism. Now, absurdism's attitude towards morality. Morality is not fixed. It may be seen as a human construct used to navigate the absurd. Then existentialism's attitude towards morality. Morality is a personal choice. Individuals are accountable for ethical decisions. Now, nihilism's attitude towards emotion and mood. Emptiness, hopelessness, cynicism. Then absurdism's attitude towards emotion and mood. There is irony, tension, comic tragic awareness. Now, existentialism's attitude towards emotion and mood. Anxiety, angst, authenticity, freedom. Now, nihilism's relationship to religion is strongly antithetic or indifferent, often denies God or divine purpose. And absurdism's relationship to the religion. Absurdism acknowledges religion as one attempted to impose meaning, but often rejects it as irrational. Now, existentialism's relationship to religion is mixed. Some existentialists are atheists, for example, Sartre. Others are theists, for example, Kierkegaard. Now, nihilism's main philosophical question is, why does anything matter if nothing has value or meaning? In absurdism, the philosophical question is, how should we live if the universe is silent and incomprehensible? In existentialism's main philosophical question, what should I do with my freedom in a world without a given meaning? Now, the typical literary themes in nihilism include emptiness, futility, annihilation of identity, rejection of norms. Typical literary themes in absurdism include absurdity of life, disconnection, irony, rebellion without hope. Now, in existentialism, typical literary themes include freedom, choice, authenticity, angst, self-creation. Now, nihilism's main representatives or writers include Friedrich Nietzsche, Ivan Turgenev, Emile Cioran, Thomas Ligotti. Now, absurdism's representatives or writers include Albert Camus, Samuel Beckett, Eugene Ionesco, Franz Kafka. Now, existentialism's representatives writers include Jean-Paul Sartre, Soren Kierkegaard, Simone de Beauvoir, Fyodor Dostoevsky. Now, the key works under nihilism include Notes from Underground by Fyodor Dostoevsky, Journey to the End of the Night by Céline, A Conspiracy Against the Human Race by Ligotti. The main absurdist writers include Camus, Albert Camus' The Stranger, The Myth of Sisyphus by Albert Camus, and Waiting for Godot by Samuel Beckett. Now, existentialist key works include Being and Nothingness by Sartre, Fear and Trembling by Kierkegaard, Nausea by Sartre, The Brothers Karamazov by Dostoevsky. The main symbols and metaphors in nihilism include the abyss, black hole, void, meaningless death. The main symbols and metaphors in absurdism include Sisyphus pushing the boulder, endless waiting, circular logic. Now the famous symbols and metaphors in existentialism include the leap of faith, bare faith, existential freedom, the gaze. Now the literary styles used in nihilism include fragmented structure, bleak narration, philosophical introspection. The literary styles used in absurdism include minimalism, absurd dialogues, illogical plots, repetition. The literary styles used in existentialism include internal monologue, philosophical exposition, psychological depth,